Just once in a while, just take a picture. The love of Jesus is inside. It's raining Jesus inside. You know, yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay. We're going to be beginning soon the last one of our series, the story of the United Church. Okay, we've had starting right at 0, context before the Christian faith was born, coming to the Orthodox Eastern Church, the Reformation, and now our own church, the United Church of Canada. And one thing I'm a little nervous and I'm excited, but our future, and that's important because that's good news. That's what I want to take the highlight of my presentation, that there is good news, that the future is with us. Devin is staying for the presentation. I'm impressed. I mean, the good news, I mean, that is so I've got to make history fun and exciting. Wow, good luck, Andrew. I am going to pull this off. Okay. I'm going to begin with a genesis of the United Church, and then taking us into the modern day and a glimpse into the future. Let's go to slide 2. There we go. Let's go back to slide 2. My goal will be to give a brief summary of the context that led to the formation of the United Church of Canada and guide you through a timeline with references for further investigation on your own to dig deeper into the details of the threads that make the United Church of Canada tapestry. On to slide number 3. Let us begin. The United Church of Canada. Established, anybody want to know what year? What, 1825? Oh, okay, yes, 1925. That is correct. It wasn't 18. Anyone know what month and what day? Oh, I heard several answers. That was interesting. Okay. Do I hear June 10th? Do I hear June 21st? Do I hear June 32nd? It is not June 32nd. I guarantee you. It is not June 32nd. It is June 10th, 1925. In what city? Oh, had to be that. That ruins everything. Okay. By the union of what 3 churches came together? Presbyterian, Methodist, and, yes, Congregationalist. However, not all Presbyterian churches. Hence, there's still a separate Presbyterian Church of Canada today. Okay, there were the result of mergers taking place in the 19th and the 20th century. And, okay, one more. What happened in 1968? What was the name of the denomination that also merged with the United Church of Canada? Evangelical United. Wow, Brethren Church. That's really good. Wow, you probably learned that at Theology on Tap. You're good. I mean, wow, you're smart. Wow. Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, we have to talk about some Sunday school tips. I appreciate. Thank you, Mona. Thank you very much. Now, before the end of the 19th century, the 3 denominational groups began cooperating in order to avoid duplication of ministries and competition, and to serve an expanding and developing country more effectively. This is before 1925, some context. 1904, the three churches began official negotiations for organic unity, and by 1908, the basis of union was prepared. It stated the principles of doctrine, church government, the ministry, administration, and law which would apply to the new church. The Methodists, Congregationalists soon approved the basis and declared their readiness to unite, going to be coming together. There was, though, a strong, and that's okay, strong minority of Presbyterians, however, who were not in favor of the basis of union itself on any terms. Although the Presbyterian General Assembly voted several times by a large majority to enter union, unwillingness to split the denomination prevented it doing so for several years. Now let's see, slide 4, there's a map of Canada. Can we go back? Yeah, because I think the 60s, we're in about slide 15. We're getting there. Let's go back to slide 4. We will get there. Matthew, Mark. Well, there it is. I just saw it. There it is. Bingo. There we go. Slide number 4. Now, look at the population densities. It's still, even to this day, majority of it, it's along the 49th parallel. Look at the large population centers, but there's a lot of rural communities. And you look at pre-union Congregationalist churches, Methodists, the Presbyterian churches, and they're still smaller. They came later, United Evangelical. So there are a lot of church properties coming together. Now, in many of the Western settlements, there were more than 3,000 union congregations. And these congregations put pressure on the denominations to merge officially. The Presbyterian General Assembly decided to proceed with the union even if the minority of his churches stayed out. The final result was 784 Presbyterian congregations out of a total of 4,512. Remember that number, because when you get half price on gasoline, that's the answer, 784. You want to remember that number. Only 8 congregational churches refused to join. Only 8 out of 4,797. Methodist congregations entered the union. And isn't it so wonderful to hear a Methodist hymn in the background? It's like, oh, that's beautiful. Thomas and I rearranged that, actually. The new United Church had about 600,000 members. And in the period after union, it grew faster than the general Canadian population. Wow. The system of church government accepted by the United Church is Presbyterian. Its doctrine, as stated by the basis of union, is conservative in nature and attempts to do justice to the basic beliefs of the 3 denominations. While this remains the official statement of the church's doctrine, with which ministers must be in essential agreement, the Statement of Faith, 1940, and Catechism, 1944, approved by the General Council, are contemporary in style and liberal in content. The United Church, it endeavored to be tolerant of all shades of doctrine, opinion, consistent with the acceptance of Jesus Christ as Lord. Now, in attempting to not only be a united, but also a uniting church, the United Church of Canada, in its ecumenical in spirit, open to discussion and cooperative in action. It's a member of the World Methodist Council, the World Alliance of Reformed Churches, Presbyterian and Congregational, the Canadian Council of Churches, and the World Council of Churches. Impressive. Now let's look at the crest. Let's go on slide 5. Next slide. There it is. The X. Okay, you look at our crest. There it is. The name, of course, was English and Latin. French added in 1980. Mohawk, 2012. Even look at the time between English and French before those two came together. Now, the X at the center, the first letter of the Greek word for Christ, it is a traditional symbol for Christ. In the four corners of the crest are the symbols. Three are particularly associated with the three communions, Congregational, Methodist, and Presbyterian, that united to form the United Church of Canada in 1925. And my invisible green laser pointer, which is in a box in Kelowna, you just point it at that X. That's the X, that red, which I'm talking about right now up there on the screen. You're looking at it. The open Bible. You see an open Bible closest to me. What the heck does that represent? The congregational churches with their emphasis upon God's truth that makes people free. From this communion, we have the heritage of liberty, prophesizing, love of spiritual freedom, awareness of the creative power of the Holy Spirit, and clear witness for civil justice. Right above that, the dove. Okay, there's the dove. The dove is emblematic of the Holy Spirit, Mark 1, verse 10, whose transforming power has been a distinctive mark of Methodism. Now, here our heritage is one of evangelical zeal, concern for human redemption, warmth, Christian fellowship, the testimony of spiritual experience, and the ministry of sacred song. And of course, what I was talking about today from the book of Revelation, right below the Alpha, the Omega. What's that green thing? It could be on fire. Burning bush. Significance, God speaking to Moses. The burning bush is a symbol of Presbyterianism. It refers to the bush that burned but was not consumed. Doesn't he remember where that was in the Bible? Wow, Gordon got it right away. Exodus 3:2. That is really good. I'm impressed. How'd you know that? You're a biblical. I'm very lucky to thank you. Thank you, Gordon. I'm impressed. It symbolizes the indestructibility of the church. From Presbyterianism, we have received the heritage of a high regard for the dignity of worship, the education of all people, the authority of Scripture, and the church as the body of Christ. The symbols Alpha and Omega in the lower quarter are the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet. They symbolize the eternal living God and fullness of creation, Revelation 1, verse 8. The Latin words ut omnes unum sint that surround the symbols on the crest mean, anyone know what they, wow, oh, Sue. Excellent, very good, okay, very good, excellent, Sue, very, very good, very good. Ray's lucky to be with that wisdom for all these years. How impressive. It is, I am very impressed. Taken that all may be one, taken from John 17, verse 21. They are a reminder that we are both a united and uniting church. Of course, in 1980, French translation of the United Church of Canada, L'Église unie du Canada, was authorized by the General Council to be added to the crest. Let's go to the next slide, number 7. Now, in August of 2012, the 41st General Council, the United Church of Canada acknowledged the presence and spirituality of Aboriginal peoples in the United Church by revising the church's crest. The crest changes include incorporating the colors often associated with the Aboriginal medicine wheel. The medicine wheel, which reflects respect for diversity, interdependence, is often represented in the 4 traditional colors of yellow, red, black, and white, which incorporate important teachings from the 4 directions, the 4 stages of life, and the 4 seasons. The placement of these colors will vary according to the traditions of each nation. The medicine wheel teaches us to seek balance in the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of the circle of life. The crest changes also include the addition of the Mohawk phrase, Gana nai de ane ren, which means all my relations. Now the next slide, reasons for union. There's few. The founding churches of the United Church of Canada, the Methodist Church, Congregational Union of Canada, and approximately 2/3 of the Presbyterian Church, they amalgamated for several key reasons. Number one, desire for unity. A shared commitment to fostering Christian unity was a primary motivator. These churches believed that uniting would strengthen their collective mission and reduce denominational divisions in Canada. Number two, response to social and cultural changes. The earliest 20th century saw significant societal shifts, including urbanization, industrialization, and immigration. A united church was seen as a better equipped to address these challenges and the resulting social issues. Number three, missionary collaboration. Cooperation in foreign missions highlighted the practical benefits of unity. The churches had overlapping missionary efforts, and amalgamation allowed for more efficient allocation of resources. There were also resource challenges. Many churches faced financial and membership challenges, especially in rural areas. Remember the map, Canadian map, where multiple small congregations competed for limited resources. A union would provide stronger, more centralized support. National vision. The unification reflected a broader vision of building a distinctly Canadian Protestant church. By pooling their efforts, they hoped to establish a unified voice for Protestantism in the country. Then the ecumenical movement. The merger was part of a larger global ecumenical movement which sought to bring Christian denominations closer together. The founding churches wanted to lead by example in this global trend. One example today, if you happen to go or have any friends who are Australian, they might will recognize the United Church because there's a church in Australia called the Uniting Church, which came together on very similar principles I just stated. And what are the outcomes? United Church of Canada, of course, is officially established June 10th, 1925, with the hope of creating a more cohesive and effective Protestant presence in Canada. And although some groups, like a portion of the Presbyterian Church, chose not to join, the union remains one of the most significant ecumenical efforts in Canadian history. Now, slide number 9, I need you to go to your handout, okay, of the UCC. It'll be from United Church Archives, very last page. It's there on the screen, but you'll see it on the page. Goes back to even beginning before the War of 1812, okay, with the context to the formation by an act of Parliament leading to June 10th, 1925. Now we're going to discuss what we see right there on the screen. And if you can't see it, okay, there's some handouts here. Sandy has them. If you want a handout, raise your hand. Raise your hand. You will get a handout. You see, okay, I'm going to go on the screen. When you're holding it in front of you, it'll be to your left, 1884, right, 1875, and the very bottom date, 1906. 3 different denominations coming together. And the challenges, now you have 3 distinct polities, polity being like church governments. How are these 3 different churches going to be coming together? This gives you a whole graph, history. One way is if you've got to do a presentation on church history, United Church of Canada, you can just look at this graph. But what I want to do is just leave it with you, really for further discussion on your own. But if you'd like to talk about any questions, please come and see me. You've got a whole map of dates you can walk through. Right there is 1820. I believe there is a 1788 as well, coming 1906 right to the present day, 1924. So there's a whole graphical history which is available UCC archives and in your handout of the context, what led to the United Church of Canada, and how it is continuing to be formed. The important word, continuing to be formed today to adapt to the changes in Canadian society. Okay, our next slide. The United Church of Canada, 1925. Initially included Methodists, Congregationalists, and 2/3 of Presbyterian churches. Challenges faced: merging different traditions and governance structure. There's a quote by Mark Twain I just want to share with you. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. I'm talking about something in 1925. Challenges faced in merging different traditions and governance structures. We're also doing that in 1924. Not 1924, 2024. I'm sure that happened in 1924 as well. Next, slide number 11. Ooh, look at this. This is the inaugural service of the United Church of Canada. Does anyone want to know, does Toronto's Mutual Street Arena still exist? Yes? No? I want to check on Google first. The answer is, without checking on Google, no. It was demolished in the year 1989. But some people have thought this was in Maple Leaf Gardens. No, it's not. It's it's Mutual Street Arena, which was then demolished in 1989. Next slide. The visions and beliefs. Okay, the emphasis on a new Canadian identity, a united Protestant church, which was to be a moral compass for Canada. Something which you pick up on last week, the theme of social justice. Pair that with the moral compass, because you will see as we continue this demonstration, the theme of social justice becomes stronger, and it's even very evident in Kamloops United Church's mission and vision statement by the outreach work, that this is church, a social justice congregation. So think about that. Want it to be a moral compass for Canada. Now the next slide, with great detail on the national website, there is a timeline of the United Church of Canada pre-1925, 2024, and you can actually cut and paste this timeline to make a whole presentation. But I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to make that this is available for you, that if you wish to look on your own at home, there's a whole line, United Church of Canada history timeline available on the national site, going pre-1925 right till the current date, 2024, and it's continually be updated. So it'll be updated further in 2025. Now, some early challenges to the formation, after the formation of the United Church of Canada. Next slide, slide number 14. The Great Depression. It had a significant impact on membership and funding. Now compare that with our current challenges. There were theological tensions, loss of members from congregations that opposing union. What I mentioned earlier, Mark Twain's quote, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Okay, there's not a Great Depression going on right now. I'm very grateful for that. But yes, there are. There are challenges on membership, challenges on funding, theological tensions. It's not to be looked at as it's something negative, but it's part of the tapestry of the United Church. And to find hope in our current context, the church has been through different governance structures, different theological tensions in the past, and grown. That's the important word, has grown. And it's something I draw on hope that we continue to grow. Not growing at the same pace in the 1960s, but we're growing. And that's something very positive, and I'm going to demonstrate that later in this presentation. Okay, slide number 15. The church in World War II. something interesting. Began chaplaincy services. That's a traditional word, chaplaincy. Changed to spiritual care practitioner, or even also used, province of Ontario uses psychotherapist, and I'm sure it'll be coming to the province of British Columbia. One of my, as part of CPE, clinical pastoral education, I had to do that as part of my training to be a minister. 1,800 clinical hours, and clinical hours is different than an hour, so it's not just sitting down, putting on your fringy clergy hat, sitting down with a member of congregation and just talking, how's the weather, how's the favorite hockey team. You're actually going through, here's a big word, psychodynamic care. Ooh, are you okay with that one, Devin? That's a big complicated one, isn't it? There was a psychiatrist on the team that we'd worked with at Scarborough Health Services. That's where I did my chaplaincy hours, that and Center for Addiction and Mental Health. And I told them that the scope of practice for a psychotherapist was more complicated than a psychiatrist. And physician asked me why. See, psychiatrist, 4 syllables. Psychotherapist, 5 syllables. So he quickly understood right away. So the chaplaincy services that you're seeing here in World War II, they're also evolving. Just like the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Law Society of Upper Canada, there is a professional college that chaplaincy services, the word changing to spiritual care providers, psychotherapy, must write a professional exam, a separate code of ethics, and then all their documentation is reviewed once every 5 years. So chaplaincy, which began United Church was part of that World War II, it's also going under significant change. Slide 16. History of chaplaincy, God's presence in a broken world. Can we go to the next slide, please? There it is. Reverend William Alfred Seaman. This is follow the call, follow me, chaplain, World War II, serving as a sign of God's presence in a broken world. This is family. He's going overseas to serve as a chaplain in Canadian forces and also all allied forces representing Canada. One of the requirements, Canadian military, if anyone of you know who wants to be a chaplain, serve in the Canadian military, one of the requirements, there's this distinct preference for United Church clergy. It's 5 years. So 5 years of experience puts you in really good shape if you wanted to be a chaplain in the Canadian military. That again, for me, it speaks to the diverse outlook. Because you're going into the military, you're going to have different understandings of the Christian faith, Sikh faith, Buddhist faith, Islamic faith, people who identify as secular humanist or atheist. So very interesting, the United Church of Canada still, to this day, 2024, and going forward, playing a significant role in the formation of chaplaincy to spiritual care practitioners. Next slide. We're going to be, post-world growth. Baby boom, church membership. Oh my God. These are the stories, and I find them fun. You've heard them. I remember when we had 500 students in Sunday school. We had what happened, Andrew? Yes, there were in the 1960s, folks, because we're going through a baby boom. We're not going through a baby boom right now. There's many new church buildings being constructed. Growth of Sunday school program and youth ministries. Let's just look at this next picture. Next slide. Look at that. Okay. Big, vibrant Sunday school. It's common in many churches. Okay. United Church, even go back 30 years ago. You got some bigger Sunday school populations. But what happened is the baby boom started to fizzle out. And even though when you look at the faces of that class, okay, 1945 and 1960s, there's been changing. Immigration patterns have changed. Immigration patterns during the 60s, early 70s, a lot are still coming from the British Isles. England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. You look in the year 1990s, early 2000s, immigration patterns coming from more global world. India, China, Philippines. So it's not just from the British Isles. So that's affected the growth, Sunday school, and church patterns. The United Church has had to adapt, and we're going to see that. 1960s and changing society. Let's go one step forward. There it is. Civil rights, women's rights, indigenous rights. This is change. Change can be scary. But something that, again, what I want to highlight is positive, that look, folks, the United Church is taking that brave step. In the mornings in the message, when Jesus is being questioned by Pilate, are you king of the Jews? He doesn't shy away. You say that I am. My kingdom is not of this world. I don't know. I can only guess, because obviously I wasn't alive when Jesus was. But there's changing demographic trends going on during Jesus's life, just as they are now and as they were during the 1960s. But the United Church of Canada is at the forefront and not trying to resist, to push change back, but to embrace it. And that can be difficult. Because whether I've just mentioned three things: civil rights, women's rights, and indigenous rights. This has continued, this pattern within the United, and for me, it makes a stronger church, and it really makes a church that I'm very grateful to be a member of. Again, look at what Jesus did. Think of the reign of Christ Sunday today. It's reigning Jesus. It's reigning compassion. It's reigning humility. It's reigning love for the people who are marginalized, the people who need a voice, people who learning English and they can't articulate their thoughts and feelings. There is a church, there is a community of faith, there is an entire national church organization which will help advocate for them to create a more just society. This is all the roots of what we see today, folks, and it's exciting for me. Next slide, changing society. There we go. True North, strong and hate-free. That is 10 years ago. Look at next, 1970s. Support our men in Vietnam, bring them home. Of course, some of you may remember Vietnam War. I remember it from history books. I was alive when it was going on, but again, the United Church of Canada involved in social justice, activism, being out there in the community. You see it here in the 1960s, and it's still continuing today in the 2020s. I've said it twice. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Mark Twain. Now, next, indigenous. Okay, there we go. As we have reconciliation, which will begin soon, we can now reconcile with our stomachs. And we get to have some wonderful sandwiches that Carol's prepared. So folks, take a breath and let's eat some sandwiches and we'll come back. Thank you. signal. Doug asked me if I could lead everyone in a solo of come in. No, that wasn't it. No. Come in and sit down. We were singing that at Berwick. Folks, I got to let you know, those services at Berwick are really enjoyable. Okay, I'm biased too, all right? For a non-biased summary, ask Janine. There, because Janine's there too in the Pastoral Relations Committee. It was wonderful experience, just communion. Because the folks at Berwick can't come. They can't come, doesn't matter if it's the downtown location, the North Shore, or if we had this service in Aberdeen. So it's wonderful healing. We bring communion to them. And it's a big highlight of Wednesday for them, right midweek. So another reason why I'm very grateful to serve here at Kamloops United Church. Okay, here we go. Let's continue. Indigenous reconciliation efforts. This has been a significant challenge, but important one, continuing to this day and likely will continue after I have departed God's green earth. Just one question. You see the Apology to Indigenous People, 1986, for its role in residential schools, continuous work on reconciliation and advocacy for Indigenous rights. How many residential schools did the United Church of Canada operate? Okay, I'll help you out. Was the number 28? Was the number 85? Was the number 3? Was the number 15? 28? Do I have 28? I have 28. Okay, 28. Is that it? Everyone settled on 28? 5? 85. 28 and 85. There are two other options. 3. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm impressed. Did you give the answer to Cam? Cam just flashed at me 3. That's, 15. 3 times 5 is 15. That's the answer, folks. 15. Okay. So, 85, you were close. Just change the 8 to a 1. You've got one of the digits right. 15 church residential schools. And, of course, this is going to be generations to unpack the events that happen, the emotions. They're very painful. But again, as I mentioned previously, when under women's rights, civic rights, Indigenous Canadians, that this is important, that the United Church does not back away from tough issues. And I'm really grateful to be part of a church which won't do that. It might be controversial, it might be difficult, might lose membership. And I'm going to be coming up with an example where that actually happened. But first, we're going to just stay on the residential schools and Indigenous reconciliation efforts. 1947, okay? This is where it begins. Next slide, please. There is also a timeline on the National United Church of Canada website, reconciliation timeline, where you can see going, and I've just 2 dates. This one's 1947, and the next slide being 1922. Does anyone know? Okay, there it is. So the answer is right there. But there's something very significant. General Council 44. First female Indigenous and second Indigenous moderator, Right Reverend Carmen Lansdowne. So question, I did say 2 things. The second Indigenous moderator, what was the name of the first Indigenous moderator? Right Reverend, I know someone, okay, Gordon may know the answer. Let's see. I'm going to find somebody here knows the answer. Somebody says, what was that? Oh, I was so impressed. Devin knew the answer. Stan McKay. I mean, it's really good. See, well, I mean, we have a great future. I mean, that is truly wow. Isn't that Carol's impressed? Devin, Carol's really impressed. I mean, it must have been those sandwiches you ate or something. I don't know. I got to have another sandwich. I need to have another sandwich, Carol. Oh, they're right there. Good. I love church life. Isn't church fun? We can learn, we can laugh. I mean, church is just beautiful. We all want to come to Kamloops United Church. The actual year that he was the first, I don't know. I'll have to ask Devin. Sorry? 1980s. Yep. 1980s. Reverend Right Stan McKay, the first Indigenous moderator. Slide number 24, embracing diversity in the 1980s and beyond. Yeah, it's interesting. The United Church of Canada embraces diversity as a core value, reflecting its commitment to inclusivity and social justice. It recognizes the richness of different cultures, identities, and experiences, striving to create a welcoming and affirming space for all. This includes supporting the LGBTQIA+ inclusion, fostering interfaith dialogue, and acknowledging the contributions of Indigenous peoples while working towards reconciliation. Rooted in the belief that diversity strengthens the church's mission, the United Church continues to challenge systemic discrimination and promote equity within its communities and beyond. So yeah, there are challenges, but again, as the United Church does not back away from challenges. Next slide, 1925, here it is. Okay, good, that's it. 1988, significant year, folks. United Church of Canada 32nd General Council made two statements about sexual orientation, church memberships, and church leadership. United Church of Canada's 1988 decision to allow openly gay and lesbian individuals to become clergy, it sparked significant reactions, both within the church and in broader Canadian society. The decision was groundbreaking at the time, as it made the United Church of Canada one of the first Christian denominations in the world, globally, to take such a step. Now, it also led to some controversy and decision. If you look at membership graphs, just put two churches beside each other, the United Church of Canada and the Anglican Church of Canada. Look at the year 1988. It is coincidental, I don't think so, but the match in drop in membership that year in the United Church of Canada is very close to the figure matched in the increase in membership in the Anglican Church of Canada. However, if you look at the Anglican Church of Canada recently in the 2020s, you can see many churches, even right here in Kamloops, the pride flag is also flying outside of the Anglican Church. So the cathedral right here in the city of Kamloops, but it's the United Church of Canada taking that initial bold step. Reactions within the church. Many members celebrate the decisions as a bold step towards inclusivity, equality, and justice. Progressive voices in the church viewed the move as consistent with the Christian call to love and welcome all people. Opposition, there was there. Some congregation individuals strongly opposed the decision, believing it was inconsistent with their interpretation of biblical teachings. This led to some numbers of members of congregations leaving the United Church, while others significantly reduced their financial contributions in protest. I actually even remember this decision. And of course, my father was clergy, and it was tough because in London, there's no more conferences, but where Woodstock is sort of London conference. And it was very conservative and they had very set views on this issue, and we're not going to go along with the national decision in 1988. And it led to some very difficult decisions. Just something I want to share with you, my personal life. I spoke out openly in favor that barriers should not be erected to people who may identify differently, regardless of, whatever their sexual or color, skin, whatever it may be. That if they're called by God, United Church, to discern and open the door and be enriched with their understanding and love and the mystery of the Spirit. There are people in the congregation that I was growing up in. I would have been 17 years old at the time, who told my father that he needed to educate me on the proper understanding of Scripture. This happened in the United Church of Canada congregation, 1988. His response was, he's old enough, he can discern for himself. And that moment was a significant day in my own faith, my faith formation, my relationship with Jesus. Because as a minister now, we had this discussion in Bible study. It was really good. I'm not going to be a minister which tells people what the truth is, tells them what to believe, tells them what the correct doctrine is. That's consistent with United Church of Canada. Is to walk with the person, walk with everyone there in Bible study so we can find our own truth. There may only be 8 or 9 people, and we may have 15 opinions on the floor. However, we respect each other. We grow together in faith. And for me, that's where I really feel the joy of Bible study, and it makes a stronger church. And when we walk outside, when it's raining Jesus, we can really feel that humility and love. Now, broader public reaction. There was some criticism. Conservative Christians and other denominations criticize it as just arguing it's a departure from traditional Christian teachings. But there's also praise. The LGBTQIA plus advocates and allies praise the United Church of Canada for its leadership and courage in supporting equality and human rights. And this is significant because, yes, some people withdrew how much money they gave, but what's more important here is how much money is coming into the church or supporting equality and human rights. What would Jesus say? I'm not going to answer that question. I'll let you discern that for yourself. Long-term impact. Despite the controversy, the decision marked a significant turning point in the church's history and identity as a progressive and inclusive denomination. Over time, the church has continued to advocate for LGBTQIA plus rights and inclusion, becoming a leader in affirming diversity within Canadian Christianity. While the 1988 decision initially caused some division, it also attracted members who valued its progressive stance and helped shape the church's role in championing social justice. And one example of that is on the next slide. That is the Pride Parade. There it is. And the gentleman right there is right in the middle. I used to work with him when I was in Bob Cajun and Peterborough. That is the float, Glen Roads United Church, Gerrard Street East in downtown Toronto. I really love the Pride Parade. It's really rambunctious in the city of Toronto. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed my first Pride Parade here in the city of Kamloops. Next slide. The United Church's social justice mission. Environmental justice, peace initiatives, and economic quality. Way to briefly summarize the United Church's social justice mission. Next slide. There you go. There's some examples, been pictures. A social justice church education, environment, food security, and right here at KUC, the Pit Stop program. Something going right now. November 2024. Next slide. That's an example too. 40 days of engagement on anti-racism. Goal to be an anti-racist church, an example of social justice. Okay, there's some challenges. Let's go to the next slide. The 2000s to the 2020s. Impact of secularism on church attendance. Why come to church? Adapting worship services. Change is scary. How to embrace change. I'm going to be upfront with some of the challenges. I ask you to give me some patience to work through them because I will be concluding with good news. Now, there are several modern challenges the United Church is facing. They include declining membership and attendance. Like many mainline Protestant denominations, the United Church has experienced a steady decline in membership and church attendance. Fewer Canadians identify with organized religion, leading to aging congregations and difficulty attracting younger generations. Financial stability. Shrinking congregations result in reduced financial contributions, making it harder to maintain church buildings, fund programs, support clergy. Many congregations face difficult decisions about amalgamation, closures, or the sale of church properties. Cultural and religious shifts. Canada's increasing secularization, religious diversity present challenges for a historically Christian church. The United Church must find ways to engage with people, new categories, spiritual but not religious, or belong to other faiths while remaining true to their Christian roots. Reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. The church continues to grapple with its historical role in Canada's residential school system and is committed to advancing reconciliation. This includes supporting Indigenous-led ministries, honoring the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action, and fostering deeper relationships with Indigenous communities. A very significant decision, the United Church of Canada supporting the creation, and will happen, of an Indigenous church within the United Church of Canada with its own governance. Inclusivity and social justice. While the United Church is known for its progressive stance on issues like the LGBTQIA+ inclusion and environmental justice, these commitments require ongoing effort and resources. Balancing social activism with traditional spiritual practices can be a challenge for some congregations. Unity amid diversity. The church's commitment to inclusivity means welcoming a broad spectrum of theological, political, and social perspectives. Change, diversity, that can be difficult. For me, it's exciting, but it can be a challenge. This diversity means sometimes there's tension or disagreement within congregations' governance structures. Technology, another disruptor. Digital transformation. Adapting to the digital age is essential for engaging new generations. While the church has embraced online worship and communications, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, ongoing investment in technology innovation, it's necessary. Climate crisis. As an advocate for environmental stewardship, the United Church faces the challenge of translating its theological commitments into meaningful action. This includes mobilizing congregations to address climate change at local and global levels. Relevance to younger generations. Younger Canadians often prioritize social justice, diversity, environmental concerns, but they may not see organized religion as a vehicle for these values. The church is finding ways to connect its mission statements with the interest and needs of younger demographics. And I'm so excited. Devin still has not fallen asleep. Okay, that's hope. I'm taking that as a big compliment. I'm lucky. Thank you, Devin. addressing these challenges. They are challenges. To navigate these challenges, the United Church of Canada continues to reimagine its mission and ministry. It's not stagnant. It's an active living document. The creeds are active and living. This includes restructuring its governance, exploring new worship formats, building interfaith and community partnerships, focusing on reconciliation and justice. These efforts aim to ensure the church remains a meaningful spiritual and social presence in Canada's future. Okay, next slide. Slide number 31, modern challenges. You can see by the chart, okay? It's going down to the right, membership. There's consistent growth in its membership from the days of church union up to World War II. 1945 membership stood at 749,374. Now, this graph, it concludes 2005, but yes, that decline that you see, it's continued over the last few years. There's new ways of doing church, and this, I look at it as if the line goes down, it gets closer to the earth, the soil, where green shoots of hope grow, and new growth to come. 4 slides, they're from a working paper, United Church of Canada Statistics. Again, one of my former professors, Brian Clark and Stuart McDonald. Sunday school enrollment. Okay, it's even more dramatic than church attendance. Again, during the war years, yes, people remember those big Sunday schools. I hear about it in Bible study. Andrew, I remember when we had 200 kids. But folks, we actually have children who want to come. Some congregations don't have them. We do. This is exciting. And as we nurture to meet their needs, for me, this is where I see growth. And this is where, when I talked about from Revelation this morning, Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The end has not arrived. The story is still being written, and we as authors are writing this story. Professions of faith, United Church of Canada. Next slide, please. Okay, see that similar trend down to the right. And then baptisms, last but not least. There you go. 4 of them, okay? Curious. Sacraments. Does anyone know how many sacraments there are in the Roman Catholic Church and how many sacraments in the United Church of Canada? Roman Catholic Church, there are 7. You're right. United Church of Canada, there are 2. Hey, okay. Oh, that's good. Good. All right. On the ball. Next slide, please. There we go. Okay. United Church of Canada today. There's a local history available on the Kamloops United Church website. All right. 1872 it begins with the first recorded Presbyterian service of public worship. And the first congregation formed in 1887. 1925, Church Union. In 27, the Church, United Church of Presbyterian Methodist, chose 4th Avenue Methodist Church as their home location. In 1953, Dr. Grafton gave Kamloops United Church a monetary sum that was used to purchase 46 acres at the Shuswap Lake. These are the seeds of growth in Pacific Mountain region. First Thirds Ministry. There's a social justice focus on inclusivity and interfaith dialogue. We want to see the good news. My homily professor, sermon, homily being a fancy word for the sermon, is this time, Andrew, share the good news. You saw what those graphs are doing, okay? Down and to the right. But I want you to look at the United Church today and see the good news. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, now this is something really exciting. This is the United Church today. We do have youth programs. You see, and right beside the United Church of Canada, there's the crest. It was a wonderful experience of Halloween. We're out there with the youth. No, it's not 200 students in Sunday school. No, it's not. But we do have one who are growing, become teens, teenagers, seeds of growth in the soil, green shoots. Next one. That's Day of the Dead. That was, yep, that's it. Next picture. Day of the Dead. That was at, you don't recognize it, St. Paul's Cathedral. Just under 60. With the Latin American community here in Kamloops and folks right here at Kamloops United Church. And by the way, it was very graceful. The limp's still there, but I had a lot of help cleaning up. So thank you very much. I really needed that. Dean Kyle was very happy. The church was very clean after. So this is another example of reaching out in the community. It's an example of intercultural church, which is a goal of the United Church of Canada by 2025, next year. So it's not just one voice which dictates how liturgy, how hymnody, drawing on its theme of diversity and plurality, which has been part of the cultural tapestry of the United Church of Canada. Middle, that was actually last year, and Sue was there, you and Ray were there, the volley, 2024. That's Malvika, our Sunday school teacher. And you look to the left and right, left one first, that was a lot of joy. I wasn't here, but I'm thankful to Marcia. Jesus and Judas were here. That gave me a lot of fun telling that at the ministerial, that, our church, Jesus and Judas show up. Do they show up at yours? They showed up at our church in person. And of course, when you look at that, you may have some nostalgic feelings because that was the Kamloops United Church sanctuary. But there will be another sanctuary. It won't look like that, but there will be another one. It'll come. Now, the most recent picture, when I talked about women's rights, intercultural church, interfaith dialogue, the multi-faith service of peace, right there, bottom right-hand corner. Folks, we had 6 different traditions. 6. I mentioned this before. 5 of the 6 were presented by women. Compare those kind of numbers with what's going on in the world today. Kamloops United Church, the United Church of Canada, is part of transformative change. Today is the Reign of Christ Sunday. How do we embrace this type of Jesus? I mentioned in the sermon, his strength is rooted in perfecting weakness. His throne is a cross. The example of victory is resurrection. He comes to us, we start next week with Advent, as a helpless, innocent child, not born in a fancy hospital or a resort, but born in a humble manger with donkeys, with sheep, with animals. And this same person, Jesus of Nazareth, Roman emperors eventually bow down to him. So, folks, the King of humility rules with a crown of thorns. I want to leave you with that there is good news. There are exciting things happening. And one question I have here, which was asked to me during the break, I'm going to draw from it. You've seen a lot of diversity, even in this pictures. The question was, Andrew and I was going through seminary, was there any set article of clothing, or do churches, like Kamloops United Church, does Arundel and Mississauga, does Shaughnessy United Church in Vancouver, do they tell their clergy what to wear? Why is there diversity in clothing, robes? Why do some wear collars? Why don't? Folks, it's the United Church of Canada. There's not any set clothing requirement. When I was going through seminary, there was a lot of diversity. The collar was actually, Roman collar, was coming out of style. And then upon my graduation, it was coming back in style. I give the example, I don't wear them, but do you remember bell-bottom jeans? Okay, they were going out of style, but they made a revival. Bell-bottom jeans coming back in style. So when it comes to clothing, I mean, I'll just use myself. I mean, I just like color, but know that there's no, like when I went to seminary, there was no professor telling me what I need to wear, or Andrew, you need to wear a collar. For that, if you look at the bottom picture there, right-hand corner, I made a joke that evening. I do like the multi-faith peace service because it's the one service a year that I can dress up and I can look more Catholic than the Pope. Yeah, that was purchased in India, the clothing that I was wearing. Sisters of St. Joseph, New Delhi, India. Sister of Victoria was the one that I bought it from. But no, United Church of Canada, whether it's clothing, whether it's issues relating to the LGBTQIA+, women's rights, social justice, allows you to think. Don't have to follow what standard news broadcasts tell you. Come together as a community and advocate for justice, even though it may seem you're a minority voice. So the United Church of Canada gives its clergy freedom. They talk, of course, at the local community of faith's got to be comfortable because they're the ones paying the salary for dress code. So I don't know if that answers the question, but if not, just ask me to follow up on that and I can iron that out. And I can also, any other questions that you may have, I will answer them now. Oh, Greg. Okay, I can relate some experience with you. It's definitely still progressing. My previous congregation didn't feel comfortable with the idea of having the pride flag. It always said, we're a welcoming community of faith. During one of my job interviews, okay, just probably about 2 weeks before I had my second one here, the thought that I was advocated too strongly. And this is ironic. This church is in Mississauga, Toronto's doorstep of Pride, which is huge. Pride Parade is big in Toronto. So, Greg, no, not every church in the United Church of Canada is affirming. However, the example that I raised with you, it happened in 2022 when I was in Peterborough. Clearly, more churches, pastoral charges, have become affirming. So yes, to your second part of your question, this is an ongoing, and I think my opinion, important initiative to state that we are a affirming community of faith, have been so since 1996, but to live that, like when we're in the ministerial, the peace service, that's Hills of Peace, Pastor Jane Gingrich, they have the pride flag flying outside their community of faith, but the majority of churches in Kamloops, no, they don't. But that's okay, because we can still continue to advocate. Just like you saw in the pictures, Vietnam War, the true North, strong and hate-free. Go to City Hall and advocate for LGBTQ positive. The people need to be loved, that they're important, that Jesus loves them. So yes, this is part of an ongoing process. When 2022, the region that I was in, East Central Ontario, that year officially became an affirming region in the United Church of Canada, which was the year 2022. Marcia. Gordon.
One local example in our region is Trinity United in Vernon is just now in the process of accepting, becoming an affirming congregation. So that gives you some idea of what's happening. I'm pretty much finished. Thank you, Ted. Just a local example.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Were there any other questions? Well,
Andrew.
Sorry.
A correction. Stan Mackay was moderator of the United Church, 1992.
92. Okay, there it is. Thank you, Carol. 1992. Anyone else remember what happened in Canada in 1992? You were asked to vote on something. Do you remember what you were asked to vote on? I'll tell you who the Prime Minister was. Who was Canadian Prime Minister in 1992? Right Honorable Brian Mulroney. And you were asked to vote on something accord, the
Charlottetown Accord.
Not Meech Lake, other one. Yes, somebody said it over there. Greg, I think you said it. Doug, Charlottetown Accord. That was also what happened in 1992. So I think, you have a question, Doug? Sorry.
Just running with the mic.
Oh, sorry. Doug's just running with the mic. I think that's it. Folks, just concluding our good news. Why I'm very grateful, come here, drive from Woodstock, Ontario. When I look at the exciting community of faith, different theological opinions, we're all coming together. We can disagree, but we go and advance the mission and vision statement of Kamloops United Church and really being a model for the United Church of Canada. We're in a fabulous region. I'm getting to know it, Pacific Mountain region. So I'm very excited to be here. And I showed you those graphs for a reason, because I know I'm not going to be hiding anything from you. But I also want you to let you know that, yes, the United Church will still be here 100 years from now. And it's going to look different. And I get really excited, and I want to thank you, Devin, for staying awake, for smiling at me, because, folks, the future is also here with us. And that's something very exciting. So let's take that out and let it rain, Jesus. Amen.